to you once again, Mashbaka. I want to welcome you all back from the break. We're getting ready now to go into our study for today. And as I mentioned before, we'll be studying from the book of Mashali, Proverbs chapter 26. Really, we left off in chapter 25 last week, and but I was guided to chapter 26 here for this week, and we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to chapter 25, Yahuah willing, and complete that next week. But for this week, we're going to chapter 26, and for some words of wisdom from a key, from the book of Mashali, right? For some words of wisdom from our Aki Shalama. And so we've titled this lesson, this study for this week, we've titled it, Don't Patronize a Fool. And as we begin to read, you'll see why. You'll see why that is. Do not patronize a fool. And so keeping it real, right? So family, in Christianity we have heard, and we have been told in Christianity that it is a sin to call someone a fool, and that for the person who calls someone a fool, that the person who does so, that you're going to hell, as they teach in Christianity, that if you call somebody a fool, you are doomed or you are damned to hell. And so there's this great warning about not calling someone a fool, and they try to use scriptural text to validate that saying, but really misunderstanding and misrepresenting and misusing and misapplying what Yahusha actually stated. Now, it is important to note that you have the fool and you have the wise. And the fool must be identified as a fool, as well as wise should be identified as wise, and the liar should be identified as being a liar. A thief must be identified as being a thief. A false teacher identified as being a false teacher, so on and so forth. And so Yahuwah's word is clear concerning identifying people and identifying things. And so today we're going to talk about the fool, right? We're going to talk about the fool, because there are fools. There are fools. Make no mistake about it. There are fools, you see. And one of the first, a major identifier of a fool, one, not the main identifier, because you can also have fools who will acknowledge that there is Yahuwah does exist, or that there is a creator exist, whatever, but still, simply because they acknowledge the fact that there is a creator, and even if they acknowledge the fact that his name is Yahuwah, that still does not exclude them in itself. It does not exclude that person from being a fool. So the scriptures tells us that the fool says in his heart, there is no Elohim, right? The fool says in his heart, there is no Elohim. But that's just one of the things that a fool will do. It's not exclusive to identifying a fool, okay? And so if that's the only thing that we are looking for to know whether or not a person is a fool, then you can be misguided. But there are many points to identifying a fool. Yahuwah gives us many ways. In other words, Yahuwah gives us many ways to identify a fool. And so it's not merely simply by the fact that the fool denies the existence of Yahuwah, because some fools will give you lip service. You see, some fools will give you lip service. I made a mistake here when I restarted this video. So what's going to happen is that it's gonna just, the recording is just gonna pick up on where we left off in the last video. So now that video will be extended. I actually needed to change the name of the video in order for it to be a separate recording, but it's all gonna roll into one. That was my error. Okay, so we're going to the book of Mashali, Proverbs chapter 26, family, to gain some much needed and some much important wisdom, lessons of wisdom today concerning the fool. Okay? Yes, indeed. There are indeed all kinds of fools, as Akut Yisrael I just noted also. By the way, shalom to you, Akut. Let me just go to Proverbs, Mashali, Proverbs chapter 27. Proverbs chapter 27 is where we're going to go. No, 26. Sorry. Proverbs chapter 26. So let me just get it all on the screen here, family. Make sure that everyone can see. Proverbs chapter 26. I'm just going to double check to make sure everybody is seeing. All right. Can everyone see? Can everyone see? All right, great. I see the ones. To the family, to the Rabbah. All right. Okay. So Proverbs, Mashali chapter 26. Verse 1 reads, like snow in summer and rain in harvest, so esteem is not fitting for a fool. You see, Shalomah is using some very some very distinct contrasts here to make his point. Like snow in summer and rain in harvest, so esteem is not fitting for a fool. You see, it wouldn't be good if you have snow in the summertime, right? Then it wouldn't be summer. And it wouldn't be good to have rain, the rainy season, in the harvest time. That wouldn't be good either. It would spoil the harvest. So like snow in summer and rain in harvest, so esteem is not fitting for a fool. It wouldn't be good to have snow in the summertime, and it wouldn't be good to have rain in the harvest season. In the same way, it is not good to esteem a fool. It is not good to esteem a fool. You do not give a fool any kind of esteem, right? Now this text, as you are going to see, it really focuses on the fool. Okay, so the fact of the matter is then, we know that fools do exist, and therefore it is important for us to be able to identify a fool, contrary to what we have been taught in Christianity, where they tell us that you do not call a person a fool, misrepresenting the words of Yahusha. Because what Yahusha was talking about, Yahusha was warning against the prideful person, the puffed up person, the self-centered person, the self-seeking person, the self-righteous person, the self-everything person who seek to put himself up by tearing other people down. And that's what Yahusha was warning about when he said, do not call your brother a fool. You see, because if your motive is wrong, in other words, you're lying. There are people out there who they'll lie on people in order to make themselves look better. They'll do everything to tear somebody else down so they can look good. There's a whole lot of people out there like that. You work with them. You might think you're friends with them. You might think they're your friend, but really they're not for you. They're against you. They'll seek to do everything to tear you down in order to lift themselves up. You see, because they're so low that the only way they figure that they can have any kind of esteem is to bring you down. So they try to bring you low. You see, so that they can seem to be higher than you, because the fact of the matter is they can't reach where you're at. You see, They're short in stature. They're short. You see, they can't reach where you at, so they figure they bring you down in order to make themselves look good. Yeah, I work with some of them. They try to shine on you. They try to make you look bad when there is nothing for you to look bad about. But you know what happened to people like that in the end? In the end, the truth is revealed. You see? In the end, they're seen for who they are. And so you ain't got to worry about them. Because time will take care of them. Yahuah will take care of them. You see? But the fact of the matter is that fools do exist. You see? Fools do exist. Yes, indeed. And those rotten fruit, like our Akut just stated, those rotten fruit will show. You see? Those rotten fruit will show. So, as a bird wanders, as a swallow flies about, so a curse without cause does not come. Now, this is important. This is important. You know, family, the fact of the matter is the only reason why we enter into curses, we walk into the curse. The only reason why we invite curses on ourselves is because of our folly, because of our foolishness. And all of us from time to time do play the fool. There's a song that says everybody plays a fool sometimes. I don't remember exactly how it goes. I do remember that line. Everybody plays a fool sometimes. And the fact of the matter is, all of us do play the fool sometimes. And when we play the fool, we invite the curse of Yahuah. We invite the chastisement of Yahuah when we play the fool. Oh, be merciful, Yahuah. Because many times we are of such that we play the fool sometimes not even maybe because we think we know better than Yahuah. We don't realize just how foolish we are, how stupid we are. Right? But everybody plays a fool sometimes. And what Yahuwah's word tells us is this. He says, as a bird wanders, as a swallow flies about, so a curse without cause does not come. Family, whatever curse it is that we are under, there is a reason for the curse. There is a cause for the curse. It is cause and effect. Yahuwah says, if you do this, I will do that. If you obey, I will barak you. If you disobey, I will curse you. And so the fact that we as a people live under a curse, it's because we have been a fool. We have played a fool. We've played a fool. And the last thing we want, the last thing we should desire is for anyone to come along and patronize our folly. Because you see, when foolishness is patronized, when the fool is patronized, then it gives him a false sense of hope. It gives him a false sense of assurance. It gives him the false perception that he's all right. You see? It gives him the false perception that he's all right. And so the last thing you want is to be patronized in your folly. You see, it is better to be whipped with the rod of truth, the tongue of truth, than for somebody to come along and to simply heap undeserved praise or to flatter you. It is better to have somebody that is truthful to you. Yes, it might be harsh. They might be harsh. Their words might not come across so smoothly. Now, Yahuwah will deal with them on that part of it. Because all of us do have a responsibility to share the truth in love. But some people don't seem to get that part of it. They will share the truth with you, but there ain't no love mixed in it. And Yahuwah will deal with them on that perspective. But simply because the person who might be sharing the truth with you, simply because there ain't no love mixed in the sharing, it does not mean then that you should ignore them. Simply because there is no love mixed in it, it doesn't mean that you should ignore them. Yes, they have a problem. But you don't worry about their problem. You worry about your problem and let Yahuah work on their problem with them. But Yahuah may be using them to show you your problem. You see, I don't think I am recording. Tuda, Akut, Tuda. It is being recorded on YouTube, but not here. Let me try to get the recording going. Tuda Rabba. You see, the problem is that sometimes people get caught up in the messenger and the persona of the messenger. And if the messenger is rough cut, then we can't hear from the messenger. And as a result of us not being able to hear from the messenger because of the way the messenger delivered the message, then we continue to operate in our folly. But we don't need to be concerned with the tone of the messenger. We need to make sure that we are analyzing the message. Allow Yahuah to deal with the messenger. You see? The messenger is not your concern. The message is our only concern. You see? Allow Yahuah to analyze the messenger, but do not miss the message. So the fact of the matter is that there is an expectation of us that when we speak the truth, when we address a matter, when we address a person, we have a responsibility to deliver, to correct in love. But if we lack that love, the hearer, the person that's being corrected, listen, do not get hung up on the messenger. Latch on to the message, hear the message, analyze the message, and you don't worry about the messenger. Yahuah will deal with the messenger. What happened to what's his name? Yahuah sent him to preach to the people, to warn them to repent from their evil when they went down to, when he sent them to Nanoah. Was it Gideon? No, Yuna.
Oh, yes.
What happened to Yuna? When Yahuah sent him to warn the people about their wickedness. You know, Yuna, he had a problem with them people. He had a problem with them. You see? He had a problem with them. And so what he figured, the word of Yahuah came. He said that, listen, either you repent or you be destroyed. And you know what he did? You know what he did when he got that word from Yahuah? He mustered up every ounce of bitterness that he could find within himself. Every ounce of bitterness that he could find within his heart. Because his intent was to offend the people so much that they would not hear the message. You see, some people come to you with correction, but when they come with the correction, it's not that they want to see you do better. It's not that they really want to see you repent and turn away from your error. That's not their intent. Their intent is to let the truth become salt in the wound. You see, they don't want you to heal. They want to destroy you with the truth. Some people want to use the truth like a hammer. You see. Yes, they want to use it like a stinger. But even then, family, even then, please be aware that you do not be focused on the messenger, but rather be focused on the message. Yahuah will take care of the messenger. So when Yuna went down there with the message from Yahuah to warn the people, he prayed that they would be destroyed. He prayed that they would not repent. And after he delivered the message, he was so confident that he had delivered it with so much venom that the people would be stuck on his nasty delivery. He was so confident that they would be stuck on his nasty delivery and not hear the message. And so after he delivered it with every ounce of bitterness and with every ounce of insult that he could muster up to deliver it, after he delivered, you know what he did? He went and he found him a tree. He went and he found him a tree and said, boy, the sun's hot out here today, but you know, if I could just find me a shade, this thing's gonna be good. I'm gonna get the popcorn, I'm gonna get me a few drinks, and I'm gonna cross my leg, because I know these fools, I know they ain't gonna turn away from their wickedness, and I'm gonna have me a seat, I'm gonna enjoy this movie. And so he went and he found himself a tree, and he was just licking his chops. He was ready to see the destruction of Yahuah come upon these people. because he was confident based on the way he delivered the warning, based on the way he delivered the message, that they were not going to turn away from their wickedness. But these were a smarter people than some. They did not focus on the messenger, they focused on the message. So after he took his seat under this tree, and he's making himself quite comfortable, and he's ready to see their destruction, then Yahuah dealt with him. So while he is sitting there under this tree, and he figured the sun's hot, but I got the shade. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, his shade began to wither. All of a sudden, his shade began to wither, right? All of a sudden, his shade began to wither. Yahuah caused the shelter that he had created for himself. Yahuah caused the shelter that he had created for himself, because the shelter was not in Yahuah. He had created a shelter for himself. You see? He had created his hatred, his bitterness, his selfishness, and his self-centeredness had caused him to build a shelter for himself. His shelter was in the destruction of a people that Yahuah had said that I will not destroy, but rather I will show mercy to them. And when Yonah saw, because you see, he had tried many different ways to get out of it. When Yahuah tell him to go deliver the message, he said, I'm not going down there. And he tried to get on a ship going in the other direction. Because he said, I'm not going. So he got on a ship going in the other direction. And Yahuah said, oh, really? So you think you're just going to get up and do what you want to do when I told you what you are going to do? And so when he got on that ship going in another direction, in a different direction, Yahuah caused a great turbulence to arise, a great storm to arise on the sea. And the men on the ship began to cast lot. They said, this ain't no normal storm. Somebody is in our midst that shouldn't be here. You know, you see, when you're a child of Yahuah and you're in a place that you're not supposed to be, chaos is going to break out. And pretty soon, everybody's going to know that you are the problem. That you are the reason why we are going through what we're going through. Because hadn't it been for you, he wouldn't be even messing with us, because he already know that we're not his children. We're not concerned with him. You see? And so he says, those whom I love, I chasten and I rebuke. Those whom I love, I chastise and I rebuke. And now here it is. You ain't got no business over there hanging with them folk. But Yahuah told you to do something and you decide you're going to do something else. So now you want to go hang out with the reckless people, the lawless people. And you figure that while I'm hanging out with the lawless people, he's not going to mess with me. He's just going to forget about me. No, my friend. He said, listen, he says the shepherd, if a good shepherd, if he has 100 sheep and one of those sheep leave the fold, he will secure the 99 and he will leave and he will go after that one. You see, and so when you leave the fold and you go and you figure you're going to hang out with the swines and he just ain't going to bother with me. No, he wants you bad enough and he's going to come get you. You see, now when he come to get you, chaos is going to ensue. You're going to have some problems where you at, and pretty soon they're going to start looking around and they're going to realize, hey, this ain't normal, because we do what we do and we don't have no issues, you know? So it must be because of him. He don't belong. And so they turned against him. And what they did was they threw him overboard. And as they threw him overboard, a great fish, don't know what kind of fish it was, we just know it was something big, swallowed him up. And then Yahuah caused them to be spat out on the shore. After going through that ordeal, you think he would learn. But his first attempt at not delivering the message because of the hatred that he had for the people, his first attempt did not work because Yahuah didn't just let him go. You know, family, the truth of the matter is when Yahuah calls you to do something, a lot of times you want to give up. Sometimes you feel like it's too much. Sometimes you just don't want to do it. Sometimes it feels like it's easier just to live like everybody else, but for some reason, when you have that call, you can't just live like everybody else. You can't just do what everybody else do. You look at some people and you look and it seems as if they're carefree in their living. They're not concerned with anything. And they're getting away with it. They're carefree, they're not concerned, they don't have people always on them about something, and they're doing fine. And you're thinking to yourself, well, why can't it be like that for me? Why can't I just be carefree like everybody else? I don't want all this stuff. Why can't I just be carefree like everybody else? Why is it that I got to be the one crying out, and then every time I cry out, I get smacked in my mouth, or I get talked about, or something happens? Why can't I just live like everybody else? Well, Yahuah didn't call you to live like everybody else. He didn't call you to be carefree like everybody else. And sometimes the fact of the matter is, you might feel a little, some kind of way about it. You feel some kind of way about it. You feel a way about it. And then you go try to be like everybody else. And he won't give you no peace. He won't let you go. Because your work were predestined. So then, if you're not careful, you will allow bitterness to rule, to take over. You will give room to bitterness. And so you figure you're going to try to frustrate Yahuah by doing his work in bitterness. And through bitterness. You might try to run in the other direction. You run in the other direction, he redirect you, and you realize, okay, so he redirected me, and he think I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do it the way he want me to do it. Okay, so you leave me no choice. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'll do what you want me to do, but you know what? I'm going to put a little bit of my secret sauce in it. Yeah, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to come up with some of my own personal ingredients, and I'm going to add it to the mix. Yes, I'm going to add it to the message. And when they get a taste of this, you want them to get it and be satisfied. But oh no, when they get a taste of this, they're going to throw up. They're going to be on the floor. They're going to be beside themselves. They're going to make them sick. Yep. I'm going to put my own little ingredients, because you think you're going to make me do what you want me to do. But hey, I'm a man just like anybody else, and I should do what I want to do like everybody else. But now you're making me do this thing, so you know what? I'm going to dig deep, and I'm going to bring up some of my own little secret recipe, and I'm going to mix it in, you see. I'm going to mix it in. I'm going to mix it in with this thing that you've given me. I'm going to mix it in with this meal, and I'm going to deliver it to these people. I'm going to deliver it to your people. Yeah, I'm going to deliver it. And after I deliver it, I'm going to find me a shade, and I'm going to watch them running from the in-house to the outhouse all night long. I'm just going to watch them, because they're going to eat, and then they ain't going to be able to contain themselves. And they ain't got no indoor bathroom. So I'm going to take a seat here where I can see them running with their little lamps to the outhouse all night long. And I'm going to have me a ball. Because after all, they're going to be so busy running to the outhouse that they ain't going to have time to do what you intend for them to do. And certainly their destruction will be sealed. You see, because after all, they have done so much evil to me and my people. They have done so much stuff to me in the past that I don't want to see them forgiven. I don't want to see them make it in. They've been so vile to me. They have been so vicious to me. They have talked so bad about me. You know, they've tortured me with their lips. They've set up all kinds of rumors against me, tell all kinds of lies about me, and I simply cannot find it nowhere in me to forgive them. And so I do not want to see them in the house. Mm-hmm. There were people of Yahuah living in the region. I don't want to see them in the house. I don't want to see them in the house. And so I get my seat under my little tree. Sun hot, but I'm cool. I got my nice long jar of iced tea, and all of a sudden there's a breeze, and it feels good. Oh boy! And as I'm sitting there waiting for chaos to break out, I fall asleep. But then the next thing I know, I wake up and I got sunburn, bad sunburn too, bad sunburn. Sunburn. Now I made sure that the tree that I chose was one that was wide enough and broad enough, filled with leaves and branches, so that as the sun moves across the sky, as the heat of Yahuah moves about, that I'm protected, I'm sheltered from his heat. I made sure that I picked me a nice, big, fluffy tree. Yeah. Yeah, I found me, as a matter of fact, I went and I found me a nice mango tree. It was in the season of mango bearing, and I looked up before I chose that tree, and I saw that there were ripe mangoes sitting up in there. And so then I said, this is the tree, because you see, even if I do fall asleep, I wake up, there'll be some ripe mangoes laying next to me, and I'll eat, and I'll feast, and I'll wait. And I'll just wait for their destruction. But yet, as big as the tree is that I chose, and as fruitful as the tree looked that I chose, Yahuah caused it to dry up. And what happened is I wake up with sunburn. I wake up with sunburn, yeah. Yeah, laying up under a nice soursop tree. And you know, Yahuah, while I'm waiting for you to destroy them, I'm going to feast on this soursop to kill any kind of cancer that might try to rise up. You know, I'm going to fight against these diseases and these I'm going to take in all of my antioxidants and everything that I need to take in, because I'm going to live a long life, but they're going to be cut off. Yeah, they're going to be cut off. And the way I know they're going to be cut off is because even though I know that the word that you gave me to give them was for their salvation, I made sure that I mixed it with so much bitterness and so much hatred that there is no way they're going to be able to digest it. There is simply no way they're going to be able to digest it. Because you see, while I am delivering this word to them, I'm going to drop some of my own words in there. I'm going to tell them about all the times that they talked about me. I'm going to tell them all the times that they gossiped. I'm going to tell them about all the times that they lied on me. I'm going to tell them about all the times that they plotted against me. And when they gave me the alligator smile and killed me with their alligator breath, I'm going to tell them about all that stuff. Yeah, and by the time I done telling them about themselves, ain't no way they're going to be able to hear your word. They'll only be focused on mine, and certainly they'll miss the message and they'll be destroyed. But in the end, you know what happened? In the end, let me read. Keith Franklin just posted from chapter 4, verses 9 through 11. And Alakim said to Yuna, "Have you rightly become displeased over the plant?" And he said, "I have rightly become displeased even to death." And now he is mad at the tree. You mean and Elohim said to Yuna, "Have you rightly become displeased over the plant?" You see, because he woke up and the shade was no longer there. The tree had dried up, and he got mad at the tree. He got mad at the plant. And he says, you know for sure I'm displeased. He forgot who he was talking to. He was so mad. He said, "I have rightly become displeased, even to death. I'm so mad I could die. Yeah, I'm mad at the tree." He putting the blame on everything else except himself. You see, as messengers, we got to be careful.
He wasn't mad at that tree.
You see?
He was mad at Yahuah.
Because, yeah.
Like kids do. I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah.
I was talking to him.
Yeah, he didn't want to. Yeah, he didn't want to come out and tell Yahuah to his face that, nah, the problem ain't really the tree. I'm really mad at you. But you know what? I'm going to blame it on the tree. You see? Yeah, I'm going to blame it on the tree because I can't tell you to your face. I done recognize now that, you know, to be disrespectful to you can be problematic. So you know what? I'm gonna blame it on the tree. Yeah, yeah, I'm mad at this tree, even to death. I want to kill it. Yeah, it's dead already, but I want to kill it again. You see, and so Yahuwah said, "You felt sorry for the plant for which you have not labored." He felt more sorrow for the plant, and he really didn't. Nor made it grow, which came up in a night and perished in a night. And should I not pardon Nanua? So really what was happening here is that he felt more pity. It wasn't that he was mad at the tree. He felt pity for the tree dying. More so than he felt for the pending destruction of the people. You felt sorry for the plant for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which came up in a night and perished in a night. So Yahuwah caused this Yahuwah caused this perceived shelter. What he thought was going to be a shelter, Yahuwah caused it to spring up, you see, because he wanted to teach him a lesson. He caused this shelter to spring up overnight. And Yuna thought, yeah, I got the perfect spot. You see, Yahuwah knew what would make him happy. Yeah, he knew what fruit he liked. You see, gave him just what he desired. Only to use it to teach him a lesson. And should I not pardon Nanua, that great city in which are more than 120,000 beings, who have not known their right hand from their left, and much cattle? So you see, family, what happened with us is that we have a tendency to forget our corruption. We have a tendency to forget how flawed we are, how corrupt we are. And we tend to see ourselves in the best light. But somehow we are good at seeing the corruption in others, and sometimes even seeing it worse than it is, but yet we can't see it in ourselves. We can see how Yahuwah could forgive us, but we can't see how he could forgive somebody else. Family, we can look at our situation. We can think about slavery. We can think about our oppressors. We can think about those who have raped us, those who have killed us, those who have pillaged us, those who have done all kinds of evil against us, all kinds of wrong against us. And we can think in our minds that there is no way under the heavens that Yahuwah could possibly think about forgiving them for what they have done to us. That they do not deserve any kind of pardon whatsoever, that the only thing they deserve is total destruction, total annihilation, and that's the only thing that can make it right for what they have done to us. We can see them in that light, and we can think of them just being totally destroyed and banished without hope, but yet we forget our wickedness. We forget what brought the curse upon us. We forget that we were wicked, and that is why the curses are upon us. We forget that we have done great wickedness. We have done so much wickedness in our time. We have been so evil to Yahuwah that Yahuwah even caused a famine to come upon us on more than one occasion, and we have done so wickedly that we even turn around and eat our babies. We're so wicked that when the famine come, instead of allowing ourselves to perish from the famine, we're so wicked and self-centered that we say, nah, I ain't gonna die of hunger when I got me little Johnny over here, when I got me little Yahukanan over here that I can slaughter and have a meal, and that will bring me through till the famine has ended. That's how wicked. We have done much wickedness. But whether it be on a personal scale or on a national scale, it has always been easier for us to see the wickedness of somebody else than it is for us to see the wickedness of ourselves. But what we must never forget is this. Verse 2. As a bird wanders and a swallow flies about, so a curse without cause does not come. No curse comes without a cause. No curse comes without a cause. Yahuah chapter 7 and verse 3. And why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not notice the plank in your own eye? Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me remove the splinter out of your eye, and see a plank? Can I emphasize that enough? Splinter, plank. Splinter, plank. Splinter, plank. Great difference. Splinter, plank. Splinter, splinter, little thing. Splinter, little thing. Plank, big thing. Yeah, plank, big thing. Yeah. I want to emphasize the difference between splinter and plank. You see? Hey, anybody ever watch that kids show, that kids cartoon, Robots? I think it was called Robots. And there was a big robot in there. It was a big woman robot. I don't remember her name. But this robot, every time, her butt was so big. Every time she went to turn around, she was taking out the whole pavilion. And when she went to turn, everybody had to duck. You see? Yeah, everybody had to back up. Miss Copperbottom. Miss Copperbottom. You see? And that's what it is. Some people got this big old plank, and every time they turn their head, everybody ducking. And yet you trying to come with your plank that's going to take everybody out, including the person that you're trying to remove the splinter from their eye. Because before, your plank is so big that you stretch your hand out trying to reach the splinter, and you're poking their other eye out with your plank. You see? Yep. Don't patronize a fool. We're keeping it real. Okay? Now, magnesium deficiency. Now, so Yonah, he sat down to wait for the destruction of these folks after he delivered the message with so much venom. Yahuah had to teach him a lesson. So, the lesson in that is two lessons in that for us, family. Lesson 1. Don't get caught up in the messenger. Analyze the message carefully. Let Yahuah deal with the messenger if his motivation is wrong or her motivation is wrong.
Masha got put out in the promised land. Was not allowed to enter into the promised land because he went, delivered what the Lord told him to do. He got the whole thing. They told him to tap it. He got so mad because of the people.
Yes, indeed.
He smashed it.
Indeed. Great point, babe. As messengers, we can't get so hung up in the people. Lest we get so hung up in the people and we get so angry, let us remember ourselves. Let us remember our own flaws. Let us remember our own filth. Let us remember our own guilt. Like my wife just said, Masha, he got so angry at the people that when Yahuah tell him to speak to the rock, he went, the rock being Yahuah, he went and he struck Yahuah. Yahuah say, speak to me, but you got so hung up in the people that now you want to strike me? As a result, he did not make it into the land of promise. You see. Yes, indeed. Another good example from the story of Balaam. You see. So before we get hung up and get on our high horses and think, how can that one be so evil? How can that one be so unclean? How can that one be so dirty? How can that one be so wicked? How can that one be so this? How can that one be so that?
So unlearned.
Yeah. How can that one be so unlearned? How can that one be this, that, and the other? Let us take a moment to reflect on ourselves, please. No, that's from our perspective. That's from the hearer's perspective. But the messenger also have a responsibility. Everybody have a responsibility to examine themselves, right? And the deliverer of the message better know that he is going to be held accountable, or she will be held accountable by Yahuah, he or she. You see,
Goes back to Uriah's message. Be humble.
looking in the mirror. Yes, indeed, being humble. Back to what Akut Yariah shared earlier. We, like Akut Yariah mentioned earlier, we live in such a messed up society, a society built upon pridefulness, that sometimes we're walking in that pridefulness, but because it is kind of like all we see around us, we don't even realize it. And when Yahuah is trying to humble us, we're misinterpreting the work that he's doing, because we can't see our pridefulness. We can't see our pridefulness. Can't see our pridefulness. Now, I went to Jamaica recently, and I have family members that came, and I'm only sharing this for making a point, for the purpose of making a point.
Throw nobody under the bus.
I'm only not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm using it as an example here, though. But I have family member. His family, I grew up in poverty. I grew up walking barefooted. And I remember going to school, not having anything to eat, and having to eat from the trash can. I grew up in poverty. I'll never forget how I grew up. Never forget how I grew up. And I never forget the family that I have still living in that poverty. I'll never forget. And my lifelong endeavor is to try to make a difference for them. That's my lifelong endeavor. I never forget. I don't ever want to forget. And when I go around them, if they're eating out of a trash can, then that's what I want to eat out of too. I don't care if I have money where we can all not eat out of the trash can, then so be it. But if we all got to eat out of the trash can, then so be it. I'll never want to forget. But even in this recent experience, I go to Jamaica and I see family who, I mean, they're not family that I grew up with, but I know that you must have experienced some kind of poverty. But they look at the people living there and with noses turned up, and it's evident and it's obvious. They have this walk and this action about them that it's just looking down on other people. That disgusts me. But that's our attitude with a lot of things, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
How quickly we can forget where we've been, or how quickly we can ignore the plight of somebody else. Yes, indeed, Akut. Kuyanat said the messenger has to be careful not to become too overwhelmed with the situation, that they fall into their own mess and drag the people with them. Be a messenger that is able to deliver a positive message that will bring the people into a higher knowledge of power and truth where all can be free. Keith Franklin wrote from Tahalim, Psalms 111, verse 10, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of wisdom. All those doing them have a good understanding. His praise is standing forever. Halal Yahuah. All right, let's move on. A whip for a horse, a bridle for a donkey, and a rod for the fool's back.
Now, why those bridles? A whip for a horse.
A bridle for a donkey, and a rod for a fool's back. Let's break that down. You see, a horse and a donkey has different characteristics, right? Now, a donkey by nature is very stubborn. A donkey wants to do what he wants to do or she wants to do, right? A donkey is very stubborn by nature. And so, if you want to go left, the donkey, realizing you want to go left, is going to make every effort to go right. And that's why you put that bridle or that bit. You put that bridle in his mouth. You apply a little pain to remind him that you're in control. And you get him to go where you want him to go, because if you don't do that, he's going to do his own thing. Okay? Now, a donkey has great capability to carry great burdens. But if you leave it up to him, even though he has the capability to carry a whole lot of load, you leave it up to him, he ain't gonna let you put no load on him. You see? And so you need that bridle. You see? A donkey is strong. He's not just strong physically, but he is also strong-willed, wanting to do his own thing. That's why you need a bridle. Now a horse has the potential.
What is it again? A bit for
A whip for a horse and a bridle for a donkey.
No, I thought the whip was for a fool.
No, let's go back to it. Okay? A whip for a horse, a bridle for a donkey, and a rod for the fool's back. Okay, so we talk about the donkey being strong and also being strong-willed, being stubborn, right? Then now let's talk about the horse. You see, the horse is an animal with extreme speed potential. A horse is fast. That's why when they talk about the power that a car has, they talk about it in horsepower. They compare it to the power of a horse. A horse that's why they use horses to plow and so on. And they're also fast. But if you watch horse racing, you do not see a horse race where the jockey or the rider does not have a whip. Because without that whip, you ain't going to get the full potential out of the horse. You're not going to get the speed out of the horse. So you're using these different things to get the best out of these animals or this fool. Because
okay, so it ain't so much different forms of chastisement for different animals, but it's just the fact that that's what you need. But that's what you need. That's what we use for these particular.
Yeah, that's what that one need. Okay, you can take it and liken it to your children. The way you chastise your children. If you have several children, you need a different method of chastisement.
Yeah.
And a different method of dealing with each of them because they have different personalities.
Okay. So that's basically what it's trying to point out.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So when you're dealing with a fool, you don't need a whip. No, it's going to take more than that to change the behavior of a fool if it does change. So he says that you need a rod for the fool's back. You see? Because it's going to take a lot to break that fool. You see? Going to take a rod to break that fool. So you need a rod for the fool's back. If you don't, in dealing with a fool, you got to recognize who you're dealing with. You don't go get a little switch to deal with the fool, because it ain't gonna have no effect on the fool. You see, you got to recognize who you're dealing with. You got to recognize the personality you're dealing with, right? You got to recognize the character or the characteristics you're dealing with and use the right tools. You do not simply ignore the behavior. You see? You do not make excuses for the behavior, but you got to deal with it in the right manner. All right. Now, verse.
All different. He compared the fool. He used a fool in the same context as a donkey and a horse, which are very stubborn and be very stubborn.
Indeed, and so is a fool. Do not answer a fool according to his folly. Do not patronize a fool. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also become like him. So when the fool talk foolishness, do not agree with the fool. Do not patronize the fool just to make him feel good about himself, because you will be sucked into his folly also. Before you know it, you know what that fool gonna do? That fool gonna go tell somebody else that, you know what? Aki Micah, I'll say it was alright. You know? Aki Keith, you know, he ain't see nothing wrong with what I said or what I did. You see? Do not patronize a fool. Do not patronize a fool. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also become like him. Now, there are different applications to this. Recognize that when you encounter a fool, you don't argue with a fool. You don't argue with a fool. Because when you begin to argue with a fool, that makes two fools. Okay? You don't argue with a fool. That's like you running into somebody with mental illness, a madman, and you're sitting there trying to argue with a madman. You see? You don't argue with a madman, because that now you have two madmen. Sound like a TV show. Never watched it, but I've heard the name, Mad Men. Right? So, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also become like him. I think that's clear. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he become wise in his own eyes. That's the flip side now. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he become wise in his own eyes. What does that mean? Tell the fool that what he's doing is foolish. Tell the fool that what you're doing is foolishness. Tell the fool that what you're doing makes no sense. He says, answer a fool according to his folly. Listen, there are two sides to this now. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you become like him. That's saying one thing. That's saying don't argue with a fool. Don't argue with a fool. But the other part to it is, do not give the fool the idea that what he's doing is right, when what he's doing is clearly foolish.
Answer a fool according to his folly. He said, don't answer a fool according to his folly.
Let me read both verses again.
Yeah.
Answer a fool according to his let me read verse 4. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also become like him. In other words, don't argue with a fool. Don't argue with a fool. You see what I'm saying? Don't sit there and just argue with a fool. He's arguing foolishness and you're arguing the same foolishness with him. Don't do that. But when he's the next verse now.
So in other words, if the conversation he's having is fruitless or foolishness,
don't sit there and debate foolishness with him.
Continue to go back and forth.
Right.
With that.
Don't keep going back and forth with him. The next part to it is, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he become wise in his own eyes. So when a fool is making foolish decision, Don't sit there and pretend as if there's nothing wrong with his decision.
You know how many arguments that's got me in with my own family? That's got me in almost fights. So I just shut up now. I don't say nothing. I don't join in.
No,
I just try to get out.
Listen, there are some things where you just leave it alone. However, there are times when a foolish person is making decisions, saying things that's not only going to affect them, but it's going to affect other people. It's going to affect you. And there you have to speak up.
Because I become the first. I become the Nanawa. That's who I become. I ain't even gonna lie. I'll go for a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. That there first part.
Now here's another warning. Here's another warning. He who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off feet
Oh boy.
and drinks damage. You do not send a message by the hand of a fool, because by the time that message get there, it ain't gonna be the same thing. You don't send a message by the hand of a fool. Do not send a message by the hand of a fool. You see? You gotta recognize, like they say, you know how they say, fool, you better recognize? Well, you better recognize a fool. You see? Do not send a message. He who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off feet and drinks damage. Okay? You send a message by the hand of a fool, then there is no progress, no progression in that. It's only chaos and damage. The legs of the lame hang limp, so is a proverb in the mouth of fools. The legs of the lame hang limp, so is a proverb, so is a parable in the mouth of a fool. You can't give a fool a parable and expect for him to understand the message. Just like a lame person's legs is of no use to them, so is a parable in the hand of a fool. You give a fool a parable and the fool will not get it, because he does not have the capacity to process it.
That's the intent for even using a parable, right? I recall Yahusha saying something.
Yeah, that's one of the intent. Yes, that's one of the
I
intent.
said, well, I use parables because it ain't for everybody.
Yeah, parable ain't for everybody. And so when you can give a parable, the wise will grasp it, the fool, it will be of no good to the fool. You see, it goes right over their head. You see. And so in the hand of a fool, a parable is like legs on a lame person. You see. In the mouth of fools. They might repeat it, but they don't have a clue what it means. They don't have a clue what it's saying. You see. Like one binding a stone in a sling, so is he who gives esteem to a fool. Do not esteem a fool. Do not patronize a fool. Like one binding a stone in a sling, so is he who gives esteem to a fool. Last thing you want to do, family, is patronize a fool. The last thing you want to do is esteem a fool. And Yahuah has a whole lot to say about that. Well, you know what, Mashpaka? We're going to stop here for today. We'll reflect, meditate on that. And it is my hope that Yahuah's word for today has been a baraka to you. And we do look forward to picking up on this text. We're going to go back to chapter 25. But the word for the week is this: do not patronize a fool. Do not patronize a fool. Don't patronize a fool. Okay? Yes. And do not become a Yuna. You see? All of us, we must examine ourselves. We must also recognize that people need time to grow. We must recognize that we too, we ain't so all what we might think we are. All right? It's a process. All right, Mashpaka? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We're going to stop here for today. And I don't know if anyone have any comments or questions before we close. but I'd like to open up the mic, if indeed. Yes, indeed, a kiki. Is it like the one in the White House?
Oh, stop.
And so we're going to stop here for today, and during the comments or questions, we'll certainly open
I
up the
have a
mic
comment.
to that. Okay, babe, you have a comment?
Yes. Does anybody feel full? 'Cause I don't feel full.
Hey, yeah, okay, you're instigating. All right, let me see. Somebody's
That was a
on.
comment.
Somebody's on the mic. Who is on the mic?
Akeem,
Yes, Aki.
shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, Mr. Khan.
Great to hear you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, my son had a question. He was asking me, and I wanted to come to you. With the title Yahuah uses also a question. What is that exactly? To come to you.
You know what? I'm sorry, Aki. Your microphone. Give me just a second. I have several mics that's unmuted, and it might be messing up your mic. So give me just a second. Let me make sure all the mics are muted because I'm having a hard time hearing. Okay, let me go ahead and unmute your mic, Aki, and if you could repeat for me again because I had a tough time hearing.
Check.
Okay, great. You sound better.
Okay. Yeah, my son was asking me about the title of Yahuah. What is that exactly?
Okay. The title Halal Huya, is that what it was?
No, the title
Oh, Al.
A-L.
Okay. Al. The title Al, it's a poetic or shortened form from his title Allah,
Right.
from which we get Alakim. Now, Al or Allah means highest, you see. So, Al is just a shortened way of saying Allah, which means highest or the highest. You know, so when he speaks of, when the scriptures speak of him being Al, it's speaking of him being the highest judge, you know. So that's really what the title Al. It's just a shortened form for Allah, and it means the highest.
So,
Okay.
You're welcome, Daki.
so when you say Al Yasha, is that anything to do with that?
That's a part of his title. Yasha, salvation of the highest.
Al Yasha.
Yes,
Says what? Salvation of Christ. Al
yes,
Yasha.
yes.
So, but that's,
Or
that's a name. That's
yes,
a name something.
yes. So it's declaring that Al is our salvation. Our salvation is of Al. You see,
So-
Alahim.
Al Yasha
Mhm.
is
Salvation is of Al. Or you see, our Alahim.
salvation is of our.
Yes. Yasha is salvation. Al is his title. You see, Al being the highest, or shortened for Alahim or Allah. You see.
So should somebody even have that name though?
Yes,
it's about
Yahuah.
making it.
No, Yahuah name his people according to his work. You see, he name his people. So Yahuah communicate to us his works in the naming of his people. So when you say somebody's name, it's simply speaking of what our Abba does on behalf of his people.
I actually like that. Can I have that name?
That's a man's name that I've seen.
It's so Aliyah, like Aliyah Shabbat's name.
Yeah, Al Yashaba.
Aliyah. I'm about to steal your name, Akut.
Okay.
So what does her name say?
I've got to look at it again. I kind of forget now. It's something to do with the favor of Yahuah. I forget exactly what it means.
So it means something slightly different.
Yeah, but still, it also is connected to salvation. You can't have favor without salvation. You see what I'm saying? You can't have salvation without favor. Okay. Let me go to Aki Damon. Aki, please go ahead, Aki.
Aliyah Shabbat.
That's key. This is awesome. This was a awesome study.
Praise Yahuah.
And it spoke to me. I'm getting some feedback. Let me see if I can.
Praise Father. Oh wait, let me see if if it's coming from my end. Keep bear with me just for a second. Just want to make sure your YouTube isn't on, is it? Okay. Let me just check, make sure, see if it's coming from my end. I'm gonna turn. All right. Let me know if.
Let's see. Testing.
Still
Still
getting
no
it?
feedback. Yeah.
Wow,
Let me
I
see.
don't know where that's coming. Another thing it might be, it could be from your speakers themselves. If your speaker is too loud, it feeds back into your mic when you speak, and it could create feedback that way too.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. If you
All right.
look at your
I
speaker
think that I can manage. Let's see.
Okay.
I
Check
think
your
I can-
speaker volume.
Sound like he got lower.
Yeah, check your speaker. Well, there's a difference between the mic and the speaker. Might not necessarily want to turn down your mic too much, but your speaker, you want to turn it down a bit, because if the speaker is too high, then when you speak into the mic, it creates a loop,
see.
which feeding right back into the microphone, and that creates feedback. So your speaker volume got to be set at a certain level. Along with your mic volume is important too.
Okay, let me see if I can. So where's the speaker volume at on this ad?
Are you on the phone or?
I'm on the phone.
Okay. So if you're on your
Zoom.
phone, if you have a little side button, you can press on it, and it should turn your speaker down if you use your side volume button.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Let me see. I think I can manage.
Okay.
I think it'll be fine. I just wanted to say that this was actually for me. Find myself sometimes with my relatives, especially my brother, going back and forth with him, just trying to get him to see certain things in his behavior, and in turn, I will find myself getting upset with him, and just allowing him to pull me into his chaos or whatever. So also being, doing something that you're called for. Again, I spoke this before. You could look strange. I mean, what I mean by that is people that other people may have think that you should have left alone. You feel compelled, and it is a way you even deal with that, but you feel compelled not to just cut them off. Not to completely cut them off. Now you have to, keep a distance, of course, because they are probably still living a certain way or whatever it may be. But I found myself, just not being able to let go, even if I tried to. It makes me miserable. It makes me feel some kind of way. I just can't seem to pull away because that line of communication, for whatever reason, has to stay open, even if it's not, we always talking to each other, whatever. Just that line needs to stay open for whatever reason. If I need to tell them something, a word of encouragement, or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
And these are people that aren't, just up here, And it's funny because I may, oh, that's stop, good. I may not hear from them at all, and they actually will reach out to me and tell me something, and I will have a word for them, and sometimes it just works out that way, and all because I didn't turn my back completely on a person or thought that I was, so, and at times I really felt like leaving people alone. I just was so fed up with the way they were living or whatever it may be, just continue to behave the way they was behaving, that I just went on here and said, y'all really, it's ridiculous. I don't get it. But I learned, and what Yahuah revealed to me, I learned was that, and it took time, but what I've learned is that it's important to keep that line open. And the way that he allows it, the way that he does it, it's hard to explain, but in turn, sometimes other people that you may know or involved in, it looks crazy to them. You know what I mean? It looks like, why you still deal with them, And sometimes, I try to explain it the best way I can explain it to them, but and I always say, it's not that I deal with them. It's just, I feel compelled not to cut them off completely, because I'm not there, it's just, I'm not their judge, or I'm not, that's not what I'm, it's just not time. And sometimes I know when it's time, sometimes it's just something that happens naturally. It doesn't, I may not hear from, and there's people that came in and out of my life, and I don't even hear from ever again. But, it's funny how you just, and then when you try to, say, I'm done with that person, what I'm saying? It's like, no, you're not. That's what Yahuah pretty much puts on your heart. It's like, no, you're not, because I said this is not done. And so, that line needs to stay open, and I just know that it needs to stay open. So, people, or, sometimes we are fools and not know that we are fools. And Yahuah will, Yahuah will reveal that to you if you humble yourself and things of that nature. But sometimes my family or people in my circle can behave as such and not know, not realize it, because they have their own agendas, whatever it may be, whatever it is that they're dealing with.
Yeah, bear with me. There's a mic open. Let me try to find it. Bear with me just for a second. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that they're dealing with. And so they don't realize the importance of that we are a family, until Yahuah says, and I try to explain these things, and it makes sound, and when I'm telling people these things, it doesn't sound, it sounds like I'm just, doing what I want to do. But really, actually, if I had it my way, I probably let me just have my peace over here, and I would be good with these people. You know what I mean? I would be good with just these people, but it's not that simple. And I'm seeing that. I'm talking about just unexplainable things. I can go on about this, but I can tell you unexplainable things that keep me from going in a certain direction. I can't just do what I want to do. And so I try to explain to people, and they will, we will actually get into heated arguments sometimes. Like, they ain't no good for you. They don't, blah, 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 And so, I even tell them, the people that I give them examples of, the people that I don't even know. I may not even have any history with certain people, and I feel compelled to, I'm talking about on their side of the fence, like people that they know, and I show the same behavior all across the board. And it shouldn't really, and it's funny because it should tell them that I'm genuine. It doesn't change, But for whatever reason, they still can't see it, because, again, like you said, Akhi, sometimes we just are self-centered, and when we're self-centered, we want what we want and how we want it, and yada. So I just think this was for me, definitely, and I'm sure the Mashmakar was Barak in the same way. And when I was excited when you brought it forth. You know, when you said it, I was like, you know, you said something about I'm jumping ahead of myself. I forgot, but pertaining to the last study that we had, and I said no. I said good, good. I was just thinking like, so like this is right up my alley. I really need to hear this. So you know, it's just amazing how the Spirit moves, how your Holy Spirit moves, and you know, and He knows what you need. So. I felt like this was definitely for me, and for me to take it and apply it. You know, not just to listen, but apply it. And I think that's very important that I apply it. And you know, and I go back and forth. You know what I'm saying? I know better, but my flesh sometimes get in the way. You know,
Yeah.
my flesh sometimes get in the way, and I get into heated arguments with my brother or whomever I allowed to pull me into certain situations, and it distracts me of what I'm supposed to be doing, should be doing. You know. So praise Yahuwah, Allahu Yahuwah. Appreciate you, Aki. Love you much, okay.
Praise Yahuwah, Aki. Love you too. Appreciate you. And indeed, we give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem. I noticed a question from my Akut Sharia, Aki Yahakab. I see your question, Mashpaka, and I'm going to respond to that very quickly. The question was, why do we not say Yah like many do, but instead say Yahuwah or Yahu? Another ministry just changed from Yah and Yahuwah to Yahuwah, spelled W-Y-A-H.
Just like you did over there.
Y-A-H-U-W-A-H recently. So much confusion. Indeed, so much confusion. But you know what? Even though there's so much confusion out there, just simply because of what people say, it's not so confusing as we begin to dig, right? I notice your hand is up, Aki and Akut. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you come to the mic, and then I'll respond. I'll give you some evidence as to why we say Yahu or Yahuwah, spelled Y-A-H-U-A-H, as opposed to Yah or Yahuwah, spelled Y-A-H-W-A-H, or whatever the case. So, but before we do that, let me just let you come to the mic. So please go ahead, Aki and Akut, go ahead, and then I'll respond with some more details.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay,
we
good.
can.
Todah Rabbah, and praise Yahuwah for such a blessed teaching. The question that I had right there, I don't want to take up the mic too much, but I had that one, and then also with the work that we're doing, there's still a little bit confusion about, we know that no one knows what the Shabbat is, and it sounds like keeping the Shabbat is ceremonial, and like in the land of captivity, that we can't, because we don't know when the Shabbat is, we can't keep it, but we're still a little confused, because before we were keeping it as best we could, on at least observing one day a week, but now, like with this work, we've been working on today, you know, like on the 7th day every week, and we've been feeling like guilty and like unsure about it, and we've listened to some of the teachings that you've had, and you've said like you still try not to exchange, and sorry if I misquote this, but you had said sometimes you try not to exchange money on like this day, and to not work if possible and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to get confirmation and where to look to make sure that we are being obedient to him and understand his teaching in this, because as you were saying with Yaakov's work, like Yahuwah blesses and will guide. We want to make sure that we aren't like being led by Shaitan, let's say. Like, let's say Yahuwah is opening this door for new jobs, but we're not fully being obedient, that maybe it's something else coming in to snare us.
Yeah.
So if you're able to answer that or just guide us in a direction to a video, Tuda Rabba,
Praise
and pray
Yahuwah.
for Yahuah.
All are very important questions that you raised, Akut, and I'm glad that you raised them. And it expresses your desire to live for and to please Yahuwah in every way, and that is just how should I put it? That's just something to look up to, and to give Yahuwah praise and esteem for. Now, concerning the Shabbat, and you're correct, you're absolutely correct that I've pointed that out in the past about even seeking, if at all possible, not to work on this day, the day of the Shabbat. But I'm gonna have to clarify something there as I say that again too. When it comes to the calendar of Yahuwah, there is much confusion, and for good reason. Okay. The reason why there is so much confusion is because there is a lack of clarity, and if it was clear, there would be no confusion. But the fact of the matter is, there is a lack of clarity because there is missing information, which Yahuwah will put in place in His time. So even though you might find you might find 10 different groups of people saying 10 different things, but each group saying that they have the answer. The fact of the matter is, there is a little bit of something that divides them. There is something that's not clear, hence you have the confusion, because there is a lack of clarity. It's not that people aren't searching, it's that there are missing bits of information that we don't currently have right now. Now, some of our brothers may not be willing to admit that there is something missing, because we have a zeal to defend the word of Yahuwah, right? To try to uphold His word, and to admit that, to say to somebody, well, you know what, concerning the scriptures, we don't have all the answers. Concerning the scriptures, there's still some missing information. Some people are not comfortable with saying that, because then it kind of look like, oh, you're tearing down Yahuwah's word. Some people might interpret it that way. But that the fact of the matter is that we don't have all the answers right now. The fact of the matter is that there's still missing information. As a matter of fact, when you think about it, what we know today, considering that Yahuwah just began to open our eyes to certain things just a few short years ago, concerning His name and so on, where years and years before that we didn't know. And somehow there are people who think all of a sudden that we have all of it now. It's insane. We don't have all of it. There is still stuff that we don't have. As a matter of fact, the Vatican have a whole lot of stuff still that we don't have. Eventually, I believe that we will have it, but there's a lot of information that still to this very moment we don't have. And because there's missing details, missing information, and some of the stuff that's put out is predicated on some false premises, wrong premises, because it's still steeped in religious traditions. And we're looking at translations and corrupt translations of things, and that's adding to the confusion. But so the fact is, I've spent a lot of time digging into the calendar because I need to know, right? Because I want to honor Yahuwah in every way possible. But the fact of the matter is this: one thing I've come to realize through my study, one sure thing I've come to realize about Yahuwah's set apart times. That includes the weekly Shabbat. That includes every feast day and every appointed time. This one thing I have come to know with absolute certainty from the written word of Yahuwah, and this I can show to anyone who asks, if given enough time. This I know, that the appointed times of Yahuwah, which includes the weekly Shabbat, cannot be kept in any other place other than in the land that Yahuwah chose. That the scriptures make absolutely clear, that the appointed times of Yahuwah must not be and cannot be kept except in the land that He has chosen. And then when we go to keep them in the land, there has first got to be a purification and a rededication in order for us to then keep them in the land. That the scriptures make absolutely clear. Now we desire to know when his days are. But Yahuwah prophesied in his word that he would strip us of his calendar, and he did. You see? Now, I have a video on YouTube about the calendar from the Roman perspective. And the fact is that still a lot of what people do when it comes to the calendar, whether they realize it or not, it's still in some way dependent upon the Roman system. And the Roman system is admittedly, when I say admittedly, I mean that the Romans themselves admit that they, number one, they have lost track of any time, so they just get up and start over in the middle of wherever they felt like. And they have done that on more than one occasion. And number two, they have admittedly purposefully changing the calendar. So two things have happened. They have purposefully changed the calendar. That's one. And number two, at least two other times, while in their keeping of their reinvented calendar, they lost track because of wars and different things. They lost track. Whoever was supposed to be keeping track lost track. And so one day they get up and say, you know what? It's a good idea to reestablish a calendar. And so they get up out of the blue and they decide to call this day, oh, this is the 5th day of the week. This is Thursday. This is whatever. And let's start there. And that's what they have done. And so the reality is that, and then after they did that, then they go and they say, okay, now, we have been given authority from God to change the Sabbath from the 7th day of the week to the 1st day of the week. The problem is they really don't know if the 7th day of the week is the 7th day anymore. You see what I'm saying? Because admittedly, they have admitted to changing the calendar, and admittedly, they have admitted to losing track of the cycle. Okay? And so they really don't know. Do we have to depend on them to know the cycle? No, we don't have to depend on them, because that's not the way Yahuwah's calendar works. Yahuwah's calendar work with the seasons, with the stars, the moon, and the sun, right? That's how Yahuwah's calendar work. We do know that the beginning of the year is on the day of the spring equinox. But you know what? Among many people, if you talk to them about the spring equinox, there is even confusion about when is the spring equinox. You see, another thing is that time is given from the perspective, Yahuwah's time is given from the perspective of not some place in Europe, but from the perspective of Jerusalem. That's the center of gravity for everything, you see. And when it comes to the calendar and calculating the calendar, there are some issues. There are some issues there. But if we want to know Yahuwah's calendar, what we've got to do is we've got to go to the spring season. Okay. Now, if I had time to go into the text, like in the book of Exodus and so on, you will see some other things that confuses people about, well, which day then should we start counting? You know, should we start counting this many days before the new moon, or should it be the full moon that we are using? So there is confusion as to whether or not we should be using the full moon, or whether or not we should be using the new moon, which is the covered moon, and confusion as to whether or not we should be using the crescent moon. So there is all of these different confusion. And the reason why there is all of this confusion is because there is some little detail that's still missing. And so you have all of this confusion. I assure you, family, that if it was explicitly clear, there wouldn't be all that confusion. But there is confusion because there is wiggle room for misinterpretation, because there is some information that is missing. In time, Yahuwah will make it clear. But you know what? It's not such a big deal right now, the fact that we don't really know. It's not such a big deal. And listen, I don't argue with people about whether they know or not. I don't do that, don't want to do that. You see, I started off that way, and I realized I was in error. You see? And so I know that in the process of time, Yahuwah is going to make all things clear. So if somebody say they know, I say, oh, good, you know. One thing I will tell any person is this. For any person who say that they're keeping the Shabbat in captivity, and that they can keep the Shabbat in captivity, they can keep the feast of Yahuwah in captivity, or in a place that has not been cleansed and rededicated, I will encourage them to go back and to study it out in the scriptures, because it goes contrary to the scriptures. That actually equals to disobedience rather than obedience. But I don't want to argue with our people. We argue too much. I'm tired of us arguing. I want us to work together to seek Yahuwah's truth together and to grow in Yahuwah. So I don't want to argue with our people, but I do encourage people to dig and to search. You see what I'm saying? So there is great confusion. But here's the thing. The reason why I say it don't really matter that much, the fact that we don't really know right now, is because even if we knew, we can't do anything about it in captivity according to the scriptures. We shouldn't try to do anything. You see, when you study the scriptures about the Shabbat, Yahuwah didn't say keep it the best way you can. What did he say, family? Can somebody tell me what he say about keeping the Shabbat and his appointed times? Did he say keep it the best way you can, or did he say something else? What else? He says, do it according to all that I have commanded. Right? He didn't say do it according to some of what I have commanded. But he didn't say do it according to the best way you can. He said do it according to all that I have commanded. The problem is that a lot of people talk about the Shabbat, but they have never studied the Shabbat. They don't know what is involved in the keeping of the Shabbat and the appointed times of Yahuwah. They just know a few verses and that's what they run on, but they've never truly studied it. They've never really looked at the all. They don't know the all. And Yahuwah time and time again, he says, do it according to all that I have commanded. But some people are teaching that you can do it according to some of what was commanded. Do it the best way you can. You see, when somebody said do it the best way you can, what they're saying is do it according to some of what was commanded. And there is nowhere in the scripture where you'll find that. Every place in the scripture you look, Yahuwah says you must do it according to all that I have commanded. And that's what it comes down to. So, I believe that rest is important. Our bodies need rest. Our minds need rest. And I believe that it's important for us to set aside a time to rest. But when if we don't know the time, if we set aside a time, don't call it Yahuwah Shabbat. You see? Don't say that I'm keeping Yahuwah Shabbat and that this is Yahuwah Shabbat, because Yasharal have done that many times. And what they have done is they have erred in their way and they have made their own Torah, their own instructions according to those ways. And so Yahuwah warned us strongly against that. But rest is important and we should seek to rest. But it is impossible for us to keep a Shabbat in captivity or in a defiled land.
Tuda Rabba, that helps a lot. Praise Yahuwah. And we were seeing that as we were keeping it, or we thought we were more observing it, that we had a little bit more shalom, and that now that we're more doing the work that we have in front of us to do, that there's a little bit less shalom, and maybe Shaitan is kind of coming in and trying to distract us, because no matter what, if we're working or not, we need to really be focusing on Yahuwah the entire time and working for him. And so it just examining and listening to you, examining ourselves, that we need to work in that area of our lives. So I think that's a big one, and praise Yahuwah for that. And then also I wanted to just say Todah Rabbah, praise Yahuwah for your teachings, because when I say we want to seek after what he wants and direct us to any videos, we want direction to scriptures. But what happens is your videos, we feel like Yahuwah is using you and our mashpachah when we speak to them on Facebook and stuff to help give us clarity, because of unlearning all the lies. And sometimes when we read scriptures, it's very hard to understand certain things that we had learned in the past, to like understand Shaul's writings and different things like that. And so they really help to clarify, because you read the scriptures and then you help to put it into perspective or contextual, studies. So Todah Rabbah for that, and praise Yahuwah.
Praise Father, and to the Kut, may Yahuwah be esteemed, and may he continue to guide you in his word, through his people and conversations. To the Akut Yanat for sharing that link. I'm gonna try to save it, and I'll go back to it, and when I can I'll watch it and I'll let you know. I'll give you some feedback on it. Maybe one of these days I'll review it, and maybe one of these days we can discuss it, right? So I'm gonna try to save it here, and one of these. It's about the feast. It's titled. Give me 1 second. I could. You're not just shared it. It's titled. Bear with me. Let me go back to it. Let me try to find it again. It's titled "Who Stopped Israel from Keeping?" and they have God's holy feast days. So I'll take a look at it, and I'll see what is being said, and then I'll give some feedback. Alright, and the feast days don't belong to God, don't belong to God. Of course, as we know, God is the pagan deity of fortune. I know that our people are awakening and growing in the truth, and hopefully continue to grow. What concerned me, I do know of people who profess to be in the truth for 30 years and more, and they still are referring to Yahuah by that pagan title, God and the Lord, and talking about Jesus and Christ and all of that stuff, and that is just wrong. There is no way that you should be walking in truth for 30 years, or say you're walking in the truth for 30 years, and something as things that are that basic that you continue to give to give Yahuwah's esteem to an idol, because that's exactly what you do when you do that. Hopefully that's not the case with this Aki, and it looks like it's a Shah in the video. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's a case where they're just coming to a knowledge of the truth, and in time Yahuwah will reveal himself in a set apart name to them. But I see quite a few people out there who claim to have been in the truth for a very long time, and yet they're talking about Christos, Zeus, God, the Lord, and so on. That is an abomination according to the scriptures. All right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. A coup. Carmen, babe, you had something to say?
Yeah. So okay, we can't keep the Shabbat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when the scripture talks about we are to keep His commandments,
Mm-hmm.
Shabbat is a part of the commandments, right? So can we honestly say that we keep all commandments?
All right. Well, good question. So my wife said, so we can't keep the Shabbat, right? But the scripture said we are to keep His commands. But here's the thing that people misunderstand about that. People think that to keep the commands of Yahuwah, like as if the commands of Yahuwah are only the feast, and thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, so on and so forth. But all of Yahuwah's word is His command. All of Yahuwah's word is His Torah. So when Yahuwah says, do not keep my set apart times in a foreign land, that is also His command. So when if you're not keeping His set apart times in a foreign land, or trying to, because you're really not, if you're not trying to keep His set apart times in appointed times in a foreign land, then you are keeping His command. Now, if you are trying to do them in a foreign land, what are you doing? You're breaking His commands. You see? So His command is all of His word. But people miss that. All of Yahuwah's word is His command. You see? But people look at His command, like some people will tell you, following Judaism, they'll tell you that there are 600 and something laws. Somebody else might say there are 700 and something. No. All of Yahuwah's word is His Torah. You see what I'm saying? Torah is not limited to the first 3 books, as somebody might tell you, or first 5, or whatever nonsense they tell you. All of Yahuwah's word is His Torah. Torah means instructions. You see, and everything He speaks is His instruction, and our responsibility is to live by every word. That's our responsibility. All right. Let's see. There were some other flags up. Let me get back and see whose flag is up.
Are you checking on Fuse?
Oh yeah, I gotta check YouTube. We're not on Fuse anymore.
I see you on Fuse.
Oh no, that's a recording. They went to a recording when I stopped.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see. Was there another flag up? No. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me just check YouTube to be sure. Let's see if there are any questions or comments from YouTube? Bear with me here just for a second, Mashpaka. YouTube? Yeah, it's on here. I'll find it in my history now. Okay, no comments or questions on YouTube. All right, family. Let me just one more check. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any notes. Akut Yanat wrote, there are many teachers. Oh wait, let me just open this up. There are many teachers that teach truths and have some powerful information in our walk with Yahuah. However, they just won't leave the names of God and JC alone and keep using their names. They know the truth. What keep teaching in the wrong? Why keep teaching in the wrong pagan names? Indeed, and that's a fact. Now listen. Look at Balak, the prophet. Right? He was actually a false prophet, but he spoke many truths also. Was he, even though he spoke truth, was he honored by Yahuah? No. And so we got to be careful of that. So you have people who still mislead people. They speak some truth. They even speak some powerful truth. But they still cause the people to go after Baal. And that's exactly what Balak did, you see. And Yahuah was very displeased with him. You know, he was a hireling. And when he was hired to curse Yasharal, every time he opened his mouth to curse Yasharal, Yahuah caused him to barak Yasharal. But even though he was a prophet, he was a false prophet. And even though he said things that were powerful, he was still a false prophet. Even though he spoke some truth sometimes, he was still a false prophet. Still one who misled the people. And today you do have people out there like that. Indeed, indeed, because in captivity, even if it, yes, to respond to Akut Yaria, even in captivity, say we discover when the Shabbat is, right? Yeah, if I believe rest is important, but it's important not to take upon ourselves to say that we are keeping the Shabbat. We must seek to rest because our body need it. Yahuah created us to have rest. You see what I'm saying? Our bodies need it, our minds need it. But even if we know when the Shabbat is living in captivity, we can't keep the Shabbat and shouldn't think that we're keeping the Shabbat because there's more to keeping the Shabbat than staying home from work, you see. Even if we do know, given where we are, we're not in a position to keep the Shabbat according to the scriptures, that is. Let me go to Akut African Us, Akut Sharon. Please go ahead, Akut, and then I'll go to Aki Damon. Shalom, Akut.
So I'm so frustrated. I missed the first half, well, not the first half, second half after break, the lesson. I have had intense medical coordinations going on in the background here. My mother has been in the hospital since May 9th. And she has been admitted between then and now 5 times to the hospital.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that. Actually.
She's been, 3 different hospitals and 2 different nursing homes during this time. And it has been labor intensive and oversight on my part. I don't have, anyone to help me with this. I'm just by myself trying to just keep my mom alive. And I mean, between the phone calls and the all the medical coordinations, the incidents that happened to her during her being in the system this way, the writings, necessary, the emails, the transports, the infections, the conditions, I mean, it's just been so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I'm just sorry, Mosh, because I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's
We,
okay, Akut. It's
yeah.
okay.
We understand the coot, and may Yahuwah give you strength in this.
Yes.
We know that it's very difficult, a very difficult time, and and knowing how much you must love your mother too. These are
Yes,
just,
I do.
yeah, yeah. May Yahuwah truly strengthen you, refresh you, restore you, give you the strength that you need, and I believe absolutely that He will. And we're just truly sorry to hear of the burden, the hardship, and I don't want to say burden, even though it is, but not that your mom is a burden, but the hardship that comes with that. We want to express our deepest and most comforting thoughts toward you right now, and may Yahuwah truly strengthen you.
Tida,
Yes. And we thank you,
uh,
Father, even right now, for giving you the strength that He has given you to do what you have done at this point. We thank you, Father, for that right now. And we pray that you would continue to strengthen her. We pray that you would continue to give her the necessary wisdom to deal with the doctors and the nursing homes and the different medications. We
Sure.
thank you, Father, in advance for what you've already done and what you will continue to do. We thank you that you have given her mother the daughter that she has given, that you have
Yes.
given her, Father. One that cares and is truly concerned with the well-being of her mother. We pray that you would keep both of them, Father, that you would strengthen the Kuchera. Allow Yahuwah. We thank you, Father.
Praise Yahuwah. Yes. Praise
Tida,
Father. Praise
Tida,
Yahuwah.
I just, I'm just, I just, I felt, I was compelled to confess to the Mashpachah that,
Yes.
you know, I have this going on. You know,
Yes.
it's I'm not prideful. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
pretending everything is okay. I mean, I try to be strong in Yahuwah. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, Yahuwah's strength, you know, is what I try to draw on, and it's just been very overwhelming. And trying to continue to live day by day, you know, in the way, in the normal way that we do, you know, I just felt overwhelmed there for a minute. I mean, I know it must be deep down inside and just, you know, it wells up uncontrollably. You know, I just really wanted to, I just wanted to confess that, but I also had a scripture question
Mm-hmm.
um, I wanted to ask. So we know that that Yahusha um, did not was not crucified on a cross, but on a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was he nailed to the tree or was he hung on the tree? And
Yeah.
does that, because I'm looking and seeing, of course, our history of being hung,
Yeah.
and considering, you know, who we are, you know, I know there's tremendous knowledge in, I guess, that correlation, or I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand the question, Akut. Going back to the book of Madabar, I believe the book of Numbers, or it is Dabarim, I forget. It says, "Cursed is the man who hangs on a tree, who is hung from a tree," basically, right? Um, Now, one could look at the name Yahuwah and even the name Yahusha, and the names speak of his death, conveys his death and the work that would be done through his death. Um, and one of the pictures is that of you could say nail, or it's not just limited to nail though. While people say nail, it also is in reference to any kind of fastener, any kind of fastener. So the U, which is can be seen as a peg or a nail, it could also be anything that fastens something together, or two things together, or any number of things together. So some people will look at that and say, well, even his name says that he was nailed because of the U. But the fact of the matter is that doesn't necessarily prove that it was a nail or that it was nails that was used. A rope is a fastener, right? So if he was hung from a tree, the U would be represented by a rope, right? Because the rope is a fastener. So to answer the question, Akut, we know that he was not, certainly was not nailed to a cross. We know that he was hung from a tree, but could it be that he was, in being hung from a tree, that he was nailed to the tree? Yes, could be. Or could it be that he was lynched from a tree, as has been our case? Yes, you see. So I don't know the exact answer to that question, because the U, which can refer to a nail, can also be referred to, and can refer to any kind of peg or any fastener. So specifically, can I say that he was nailed to the tree? No. Or can I say, no, he wasn't nailed to the tree, he was definitely hung from the tree? I can't say that either.
There would be no need to stab him in the side then. If there would be no need to stab him in the side, that whole story, if that story is
Right,
true,
right.
if he was hung,
If he was hung, right, he would choke to death. So, it seemed like it's possible that he was nailed to a tree, because the word that is used. But here's the other evidence that we have. The word that's used in the at least in the Greek text is the word staros, and staros is in reference to a tree that has been cut down, right, and formed into a peg, basically, just a straight post. That's what staros refers to. So if you look at the word staros, then it would suggest that this trunk of a tree was cut down, and that became the thing that he was nailed to or impaled to. So not a cross, but a post. You see what I'm saying? Or you could say a stake. That's what staros referred to. So it's probably likely that he was nailed. That's a possibility, Akut. But I also understand the point there as to even what happens with us as a people. We have been hung from trees, and that's a part of the curses of our disobedience, right? Probably, and even probably a direct, indirect relations to what we did to our Alahim. So that would be my response, Akut. Sorry, can't be more definitive than that. Something else I was trying to recall, my wife had mentioned the scriptures, the writings from Corinthians, where Yahuah was speaking, and he says, when I am weak, I am made strong. Yahuah basically strengthens us in our weakness, and so may Yahuah truly strengthen you in this time of weakness, Akut. To respond to, let me go to, before I come to you, Aki Damon, I want to finish responding to the questions that Akut Sharia had. No, I didn't finish responding. The question was on,
Didn't you give him the mic?
ooh, huh?
Sharia and Yahuah?
Yeah, but I never finished responding to their question. The question was, as far as Yah, why do we say Yah, and why and why are some people, like she mentioned, she noticed some people changing from Yahuah Yahuah to Yahuwah, and so why all the confusion? All right, so I'm going to give you a quick overview, Akut, because it would take a lot of time for me to get into the details of it. I'm going to give you a quick overview, and maybe someday we can go back and revisit it and look at the details of it. And also, what I say may help you as you search it out. Um, but the letter W, we know that the letter W is not an original part of the name for several reasons. If you look at in a dictionary, if you look up the letter W, just using the dictionary, if you go to dictionaryonline.com, type in the letter W, hit search, it'll give you a history of the letter W. The letter W is one of the youngest letters in the English alphabet. The letter W has only existed now for, I believe, a little over 400 years. Before it was a W, it was a double U. And after it became before it was a W, it was a double V. Okay? First it was just a V, then they made a double V, and then from a double V, they made a double U, and that's where you get W. Okay, so that was only invented just a few years ago. As a matter of fact, if you look up writings from the 1800s, even as late as the 1800s, 1800s, if you look up writings like biographies and stuff, you won't find the letter W in any of those writings. You will find the letter U in them, but you won't find the letter W in them. Now later on, and you will find this even in concordances. For example, I have a concordance, a Strong's Concordance, written, a printed version of the Strong Concordance. And in the Strong Concordance, they explain to you that what they do when they use a letter W in a word, they will accompany the W with a U. And they want you to know the reason why they accompany the W with a U is because they want you to know that the W does not make a hard sound like wah, wah. Okay? They accompany the W with a U because they want you to know that the W is supposed to make a soft sound, as in when you have Yahuah, Yahuah. So they accompany the W with a U in front of it to tell you that the W is supposed to be basically silent. So if it's supposed to be silent, and if it was only recently created and invented, why bother to include it anyway, right? Before you invented it, what you had was the letter U. Now, quite frankly and quite honestly, if you look at the Abari text, you could say that technically there isn't even any U's in the Abari text, right? Technically, you don't have a U in the Abari text, okay? You have the picture U, which makes the double O sound, and the closest thing we have to double O in the English language, because we are trying to transliterate, we got to find the closest thing to that sound. The closest thing we have to it is the letter U, right? So the U, which is the peg, makes the double O sound, as in the word school, right? School. And the double O sound in the word school is actually the U sound, okay? But the letter W is very recent. Why do we say Yahoo as opposed to Yah? Even though a lot of people say Yah, when you do the digging, when you begin to look at the name Yah, or the name Yah, the way you see it in the translations, when you begin to dig, if you look in the Browns and Briggs dictionary, Browns and Briggs actually tell us that it was quite recently that they dropped the U off of Yahoo and just began to represent it as Yah. That it was always Yahoo, but the translators took it off. They dropped the U off of Yahoo and just leave it as Yah. Okay? So as you do research, for example, like I just mentioned, Browns and Briggs, for example, is one of the sources that highlight that fact. And when you look at the writing, it would be Yahoo. The names, what is his name? His name is not Yah. His name is Yahoo. Also, what they did was they changed it from Yahoo to Ayah, IAH, but the I was historically supposed to make the Y sound, right? So it should still be Yah, right? So some people say the way they write, they say Hallelujah. It's not so. Even when they have a IAH on it or a JAH, the J is actually the I converted to a J, but the I was always supposed to make that Yah sound. So, um, searching it out and digging deeper shows us how the corruption comes in. Again, it would take some time for me to dig into all of this, and I don't want to take up a whole lot more time. But at some point later on, we could go over it some more, and I could show you some of that information. Yes, indeed, and the shortened form of his name is Yahu. You see. That's why the names of the prophets and the people end with Yahu, you see. Indeed. All right. Well, Aki Damon, please go ahead, Aki.
Yes, okay. I just want to first and foremost show my concern to the quote with her moms, and I had the same concerns with my mother because she's not healthy. She doesn't take care of herself like she should. So I'm always dreading that phone call, and maybe something might happen or whatever. So I try to keep her on her toes, more fruit, more water. And she needs to take care of herself. So I understand. I totally understand because she's not as bad off as her mom's, but I understand her concern, and I want to give a statement of praise to Yahuah for moving Cool Kim for that prayer. And I'm actually not. I don't appear to most people as that emotional, but certain things do move me because I'm moved. I'm really moved when it comes to Yahuah. Other than that, I don't. Some people can say that can appear heartless because I don't always react to certain things a certain way. So, but I was moved. Yahuah, I come to tears when I hear about things like that. So, I give all the esteem and praise to Yahuah for Akul Kim's prayer, and it was definitely needed. It was definitely needed for the Akul to hear that. But I also want to say to something you said pertaining to Akul Kim and the commandments and the Torah of Yahuah, the whole entire word of Yahuah. Just want to share this quick little story. In the shop, this guy mother was reading. I'm trying to say this right. The guy mother was reading her son's text message, but she started in the middle. And so because she started in the middle of the text message, she thought her son was gay. Right? And so when I'm not sure if she shared it with anybody else, but she thought her son was gay. As a matter of fact, yeah, she did. Because she said she shared it with, I think, somebody else. And come to find out, when they got it, they read it too, and they did the same thing, read it in the middle. And he was like, oh, wait a minute, it's crazy. I didn't know he went that way, blah, blah, blah. But then they read it from the top and realized what had happened was he was talking to a friend of his, and he was describing all the stuff that he did to this woman, to this girl. But he went to the top and read it from the top all the way through. So I say to say, context is important, and it tickled me to hear because the first thing I thought about was scripture, how context is important and how you can take something and, be completely off. So, I thought that was something I just wanted to share that, but didn't know that the court was going to, share that. So it made my message seem a little insignificant, but I praise Yahuah for you guys. I really do. I love Yahuah.
Allahu Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Yes, indeed. So, the on the end of the name Yahuwah speaks of his complete. It speaks of a lot of things because you're looking at it from a pictographic standpoint. It speaks of a lot. Speaks of his strength. Speaks of his completeness. You see, and so it speaks of him being. You see, so that's what it communicates. And indeed, indeed, to the key. And you're so right in that when we start something in the middle, we'll always misrepresent and misunderstand it. So and the same is true for Yahuwah's word. So that was indeed a great example. A great example indeed. Yes, Aki.
Shalom, shalom to everyone, and to the Mashpachah, Mustahab to everyone. Great lesson again. I'm listening to everybody's comments and everything, and I just thought I wanted to have a comment. It's words of encouragement to everyone. Yahuwah is doing a great thing in us, and over the week, I just wanted to share that Yahuwah has been dealing with me about his wisdom. I was in the shop the other day, and I was just sitting there cutting, and and something came to me. I was reminded of a song that the group in Vogue, when this song is called "Free Your Mind," and I was wondering why that came to me. I said, why did that come to me? Come to find out, the way it came to me, it didn't come to me free your mind. It came to me feed your mind. And I was like, okay, why am I listening to this? Well, it was about Yahuwah's word, feeding our mind with Yahuwah's word, because of the distraction and the confusion of the wicked. Where they've been feeding our mind for so long with junk and lies. But the wisdom of Yahuwah is we must feed our minds with his wisdom and with his word.
Indeed.
So I just wanted to encourage everyone, and I was looking at the words. I was looking at the word son, and it broke it down in the Abari where it's done, and it had a lot of definitions. And the definitions were, that's why I agree with Aki about the context and where the words are used in different contexts. So what I was thinking about done, when I broke it all the way down, it had servant, had offspring, and it had builder. And what stuck out to me is builder. And I was thinking of the word builder, saying that's why when he said Yahusha is the cornerstone, where Yahuwah is the cornerstone, he's the builder. He said he's going to gather us. So what he's doing is he's rebuilding his house by us first. As we go, it's always a process. As we go back to the land, for him to rebuild, he's starting with us to rebuild his house. So right now, we are being rebuilt as his house. And then as we go there, the physical is coming. So I was thinking of the word builder as all of us coming in, and what struck me to say this is when you said earlier, when everybody was giving their input in their word, he was like, thank you for your word. Those are great words. And what I thought about is this came to me as us as builders. We are the part of the builder. We're the bricks where you got one, we're all stones and we got one cornerstone that starts to build and we are to connect as his body. So that came to me as being builders. So we are builders. We are to build one another up. as we give, as we try to give Yahuwah's word, as Yahuwah give us wisdom, we are to give others his wisdom, because he's using us to get the wisdom. And that came to me, and I just wanted to encourage everyone that we are all builders. And it's important. It's important that we encourage one another, and that's the part of being loving one another. And Yahuwah also wants us to love, like you said, the Christians had the Christianity period, the religion period, had set our minds to misinterpret Yahuwah's word, and everything is misinterpreted. So they thinking that we are to go out and we can't judge one another in the sense of judging, meaning correct and correct, righteous judgment. So they don't think we ought to do it. But Yahuwah put us here to correct one another, because we're holding each other accountable. And that's part of our love. Because if we don't, we hate our brother. You know, so that, and we have to, we just have to, give the whole word. And like you said, I had to learn that too. I had to, when I give it, I had to give it to them in love. And to be cautious and know who I'm talking to, making sure they're not the fools that I'm trying to give it to. So we have to know their personality. That's the part discerning. So I just wanted to encourage encourage the room and encourage our people that Yahuwah is awakening us, and He's opening the blind, and He's encouraging us as we should encourage one another. And like you said, not to leave it all on one person.
Yeah.
We're all here, and Yahuwah, He gave us all different gifts. So that's where the wisdom comes in at. So I just wanted to say that Aki, and I just say shalom, shalom, and it's good to hear everyone. And because I know I haven't been on here in a long time, I've been busy, super busy, because Yahuwah is doing some things in my life, and in due time I probably would share it with the room. But I just want to say that Aki. So I said shalom, shalom, and I'm releasing the mic.
Praise Yahuwah. Praise Father Aki. Great to hear you. I haven't heard you in a while. Great indeed to hear you, Aki. And the things that you expressed there are certainly true and important. So we give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem. Well, family, we're going to prepare to close out here on this evening. Once again, it has truly been a baraka spending this time with you, and do look forward to seeing you again soon. This coming Wednesday evening, we'll be meeting for Rob, for those who are members of Rob, and so we'll use Zoom for our meeting, and so 7:30 this coming Wednesday evening, Yahuwah willing. All right, and so very shortly here we're getting ready to close out. I'm going to be closing out in prayer here momentarily, and Yahuwah willing, we'll be seeing you soon. I'm trying to type here too while I'm talking, so bear with me just for a second. Can't eat and walk and chew gum. All right. Okay. All right. All right, family. Let us pray as we close out on this evening. Father Yahuwah, we thank and praise you for this time. We thank and praise you for your word that is never grows old, Yahuwah, and it is always timely, always fresh and pertinent to our lives. Say Tuda Rabbah for your word. May you continue to barak us as we seek your face, and may you continue to teach us as only you can. Father, I pray that you would continue to watch over our families. Father, that you would strengthen our brothers and sisters who need your strength in this hour. Father, that you would meet the needs of those who lack. Abba Yahuah, that you would bring joy to those who mourn and shalom to those who may not feel at peace. And so, Father, I pray that you would continue to favor and to strengthen your people. Lead us according to your way, according to your word, and let us hate every false way. Do this, we pray, Yahuah. Be with us throughout the week and bring us together safe and sound once again. May your favor continually be upon us and upon our children, upon our Bayat, and help us to walk in your way. Do this, we pray, Abba, in Yahusha's name. Amen. Praise Yahuah. Family, by the way, I want to just express my deepest gratitude to Aki Franklin. As always, Aki always posting the scriptures and different facts that is helpful to the Mashpaka. Want to say to the Rabbah, to you, Aki, for always continuing to do that. It is very helpful. Also, family, let us remember to keep our Aki Adial in our prayer as he deals with the death of his sister. And may Yahuah truly continue to strengthen our Aki and to keep him even now. And we do look forward to talking to him soon. Well, may Yahuah barak you and keep you. May Yahuah lift up his face upon you and show favor unto you. May Yahuah cause his face to shine upon you and give you shalom. May the name of Yahuah be upon you. Halal Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Okay. Okay, Akud. I remember singing a song and I gotta check it out again. I forget which song it was. Professor Franklin. Yes, he is. It's all right. All right. Well, Mashpaka, love you all. We're gonna prepare to close out here, and Yahuah willing, we'll be seeing you soon. Shalom, family, and Leila Tub to you all.